Films and fermentation, movies and inebriation. Films and fermentation, comedy mixed with tasty libations. Films and fermentation, with Leo, Catman and Mike.
I was just thinking of the last week when Kevin heard the theme for the first time and wanted to know when we got David Lee Roth to do it for us. Well, it's not that episode. It's the next episode. This is episode 168. We're looking at the Christmas horror classic Gremlins, which is turning 40 years old this year. This came out in 1984. So it's the 40th anniversary of Gremlins. Did it hold up after all these years? Well, you're going to have to wait to hear us talk about it to find out. Spoiler alert. At least one of us wasn't happy rewatching this. Welcome to Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast, #1 pop culture podcast on Good Pods. We're also the #1 beer podcast on Good Pods. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. As I said already in this episode, we're celebrating the 40th anniversary of Gremlins, the movie that made us all second-guess late-night snacks and exotic pet purchases. It's the Christmas horror comedy that taught us 3 valuable lessons. Don't get them wet, don't feed them after midnight, and whatever you do, don't forget the popcorn. So grab a drink and join us as we unwrap the mischief, mayhem, and holiday spirit of this 80s classic. Remember, folks, when it comes to Gremlins, it's all fun and games until someone microwaves the wrong thing.
You know, Mogwai sales went up a lot in 1984.
Mogwai sales, yeah. I had the little Mogwai. It's just the Mogwai guy. Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. You can become part of the Films and Fermentation family by supporting us on Patreon. As I've said many times, we are an independent podcast, which means we are listener supported. So please consider joining us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month to receive members-only content. For $1 a month, you get free recordings of Mike doing his gremlin voice. Go to Patreon.
$10 a month, you can get Mike doing the gremlin voice with his toes. Individually.
I think each week we should come up with something new that you'll get for $1 a month from Mike.
I'd buy that for $1.
$1. Hold on. I'll take care of that for you. Hold on.
I'd buy that for $1.
Already had it on cue. Where was I? Oh, yeah. You can also buy our shit at teespring.com.
Not for $1.
Not for $1. Although I do offer discounts on the Teespring items with the Patreon submission. So if you join us on Patreon, you can save money on the Teespring site. You can now text us at 904-867-4466 if you want to get to us directly. 904-867-4466. What are we drinking tonight? Gentlemen, I think I'm going to go first tonight because the last time I had this drink on the show, it didn't end well. So I figured I should start talking now while I still can.
Oh, boy.
I decided tonight. So the word gremlin has a few different meanings around the world, whether you're talking Spanish or German or whatever language, you translate it from, because it's a small fairy-like creature that causes trouble, especially in machinery. In Spanish, they call the gremlin diabillo, which means little demon or little devil. And German...
Don't call no one that. He's a sweet little baby.
Well, no, they're not the Mugwai, the gremlins themselves. So in German, it also translates as like demon or devil or like little devil, something like that. So I'm drinking tonight. It's kind of a loose, connection, but it's a wine that I've had on the show before. It's called the Jersey Devil Port Wine from Valenzano Winery here in New Jersey. It is a red port wine that is 19.5% alcohol by volume. So it is a rather strong wine. And the last time we did the show, I drank the whole bottle. So it was kind of trouble, waiting to happen. It is a very, very smooth wine, easy to drink. Who's next?
I'll go.
Go for it.
I went. I kind of themed mine a little tonight. With my Christmas beer right now. I went with Iron Hill Brewery's Reindeer's Revenge. This is an American triple. 9% alcohol by volume, and it is strong as shit.
Oh yeah, triple IPA or American Pale Ale. You said right?
This is American triple.
Yeah, American triple ale. Yeah.
Top twisted on a Belgian style triple.
Iron Hill put out a couple good ones this holiday season too. I was there on Saturday with my in-laws, and I had their winter warmer, which was very good. And I forget the other one I had. It had cinnamon and vanilla. It's a porter, I believe. It was also very, very good. But that's not what I'm drinking tonight. A friend of mine came over to the house not long ago because he hadn't met my son yet. He, as is known to do, brought me over some beers from Bolero Snort Brewery. And he knows I have a penchant for sweet beers, as you gentlemen both know. So he got me a few Juicy Pebbles, right? Juicy Pebbles.
Okay.
Which is a hazy IPA. It is, I believe it's also, let's see, Indian Pale Ale with lime zest and milk sugar. So this should be interesting. It's 6% alcohol by volume. And then following that, I will be drinking the Cocoa Pebbles. Cocoa Pebbles, which is a breakfast milk porter. It is breakfast milk porter with cocoa, vanilla, and milk sugar. And this is 6.5% alcohol by volume. Bolero Snort is out of Carlstadt, New Jersey.
So I love Fruity Pebbles cereal.
Mm-hmm.
So if either of those taste anything remotely like Fruity Pebbles or Cocoa Pebbles, I want to need you to save me some so I can try it out myself.
No problem, gentlemen.
All right.
All right. That's not bad for an IPA.
Yeah.
That's okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Mike, anything special happened this week?
This week in film history.
So I should make the addendum here. Normally when Mike does his This Week in Film History and I like throw little tidbits in with it, it's usually stuff that I already like kind of know off the top of my head. But I was so excited by some of the things on the list this week that I actually did research for it so I could make sure I knew what I was talking about in this. So go for it, sir.
In 1967, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, directed by Stanley Kramer, starring Spencer Tracy, Sidney Poitier, and Katharine Hepburn, premieres in New York. Hepburn, Academy Award for Best Actress in 1968.
Now, this is an excellent film. It's a classic. Sidney Poitier, excellent actor. Katharine Hepburn, amazing actress, has won 4 Oscars in her career. You know, a legend like Spencer Tracy. So, of course, when you remake it in 2005, you remake it as a film called Guess Who? That is not only a remake, but a race-swapped remake. And, of course, when you need to replace Spencer Tracy, Sidney Poitier, and Katharine Hepburn, you do it with Bernie Mac, Zoe Saldana, and Ashton Kutcher.
Of course.
Of course. And you turned it into a zany slapstick comedy.
And you're telling me that wasn't as good as the original?
Not really. So if anybody's seen the remake 2005's Guess Who and you would like to see an excellent version of the film, check out 1967's Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. What's your next one you got there, sir?
1971, Lucasfilm Ltd. is founded as a film and television production company by George Lucas in San Francisco, California.
Say what you want about George Lucas selling stuff to Disney or what he did with like the franchise himself, but it was very ballsy of him because he used a lot of his own money to finance some of the early films that he did, especially Star Wars. You know, so I mean, it paid off, but that was a big leap.
Let him do things his way, without having to answer to studios.
Exactly. So speaking of that, Kev, I am all caught up on Skeleton Crew.
Good.
I really like it.
Yeah.
I really like it. It's like you said, it's Goonies in space. And it did what the Acolyte failed to do.
Yeah.
The Acolyte the Acolyte tried to be a modern, it tried to bring modern problems into the Star Wars universe.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't go to the Star Wars universe for modern problems because I want to escape from them. And the Skeleton Crew is exactly what Star Wars is supposed to be. Yeah. It is an escape, it is an adventure, and it was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Take it for what it is, and if you can appreciate
what it is,
appreciate like Goonies and the fun childhood antics of the 80s, you're going to appreciate this show.
The kids even are Goonie-esque because you have like the scared one, the brave one, the funny one, the tech savvy one, and all that stuff. Yeah. So I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah.
Mike, what's your next one there?
In 1974, the animated Christmas special "Twas the Night Before Christmas" premiered. Kaplunk, kaplooey, kapow.
Did you add that? Because I don't have that on my notes.
I added it yesterday. I
saw
on Facebook said I gotta add that.
Okay.
The whole family has buck teeth, right? They all look like the mice that are also in the house.
Yes. Okay. The mouse broke the clock.
Yeah, I mean that's one of Katie's favorites. We watch that every day.
One of Adrian's favorites too. So.
Yeah. So what's the song? Something for Christmas this year.
Yeah.
So is that the only thing you added?
That's the only thing I added.
Okay, good. Because the rest of my notes are complete then if you didn't add anything else. So what's the next one you got there?
1978, Superman, the movie, directed by Richard Donner and starring Christopher Reeves, Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, and Margot Kidder, premieres at the Uptown Theater in Washington, D.C.
All right. I got two things for this. The first one is I had mentioned a couple weeks ago that there's a documentary about Christopher Reeve called The Superman. It just premiered on Cinemax, or not Cinemax, rather HBO Max. It just premiered on HBO. I haven't watched it yet. I'm trying to build myself up to watch it because I know it's going to be a tearjerker. But I really want to check that out. So my second thing is Superman the movie, or Superman the movie, and Superman 2. Which one?
2.
Superman the movie, the Richard Donner cut, which puts them both together.
Oh, you want like the Godfather saga?
The Donner cut.
The Donner saga.
Give me the Donner cut.
I love the Donner cut of part 2.
Yeah,
the Donner cut of part 2 is really, really good. I like part 2 in general, but I thought the Donner cut was excellent. And I really like the first one, but if I'm gonna watch, if I have my choice, I'm watching the second one.
Yeah.
The second one's got Zod. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Needle before Zod.
Needle before Zod. What's your next one, sir?
In 1985, Out of Africa, based on the book by Isaac Denzin, directed by Sidney Pollack, and starring Meryl Streep and Robert Redford, premieres in Los Angeles. Best Picture, 1986.
Yeah, for this one, I have some Oscar trivia. So when Out of Africa won in 1985, it was kind of a surprise win because it beat out two other front runners for Best Picture. Those were The Color Purple and Witness.
Ooh.
Of those three films, I can honestly say I have seen Color Purple and Witness probably a lot more than I've seen Out of Africa.
Yes.
Sidney Pollack won Best Director for Out of Africa. Spielberg, who directed Color Purple, wasn't even nominated that year.
Spielberg was on, Spielberg just was ignored for decades before.
Yeah,
he
I mean,
finally
this
got
was like,
recognized.
yeah, he directed Color Purple, which got nominated for Best Picture, but it was like, but he's the Jaws guy, so they're not going to give him a nomination. But
Right. He's the E.T. guy.
he should at least got a nomination for it. What also came out this year and was not nominated for Best Picture, Robbery in My Eyes, Back to the Future. Should have been nominated for Best Picture.
All right, so we're going to do a movie where the son goes back and he tries to rape his mom.
Yeah. It's not just sci-fi movies, Mike. It's a comedy. Like sci-fi movies and comedies don't often get the play that they should get in that sort of respect, unless it's like Star Wars or something like that.
That came later for Star Wars, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like 77 Star Wars.
There's a whole John Mulaney routine about how the pitch for Back to the Future, you know, and if you hear it, it's very funny.
I think it's something like he's like, so this guy goes back in time and he tries to have sex with his mother, and the studio's like, I don't need to hear anything more. Here's your check.
He stops a Kennedy assassination. Oh no!
Tell us more about the mother.
that would have been a good idea.
What's the next one you got, Mike?
Let's see, what was it? 1987, Wall Street. Film directed by Oliver. I'm here.
Yeah, you're here. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
I got a lot of lag going on or something.
No. Well, I can hear you. We're doing the Wall Street one, so just go with that.
You guys say anything?
Hold on a sec.
In 1987, Wall Street, directed by Oliver Stone and starring Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen, is released.
This year, Michael Douglas won Best Actor for Wall Street, beating out William Hurt for Broadcast News and Robin Williams for Good Morning Vietnam. Two performances I think I preferred much more than Michael Douglas's. Yeah, comedy again.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your next one, sir?
In 1988, Rain Man, directed by Barry Levinson and starring Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise, premieres in New York. Best Picture, 1989.
There's also Best Actor for Dustin Hoffman that year, despite the fact that the roles are reversed because originally Tom Cruise was supposed to play the Rain Man part. And,
really?
And then Dustin Hoffman was going to play the other part. But then after auditions, they decided to switch them. They felt that they fit better in the other roles. Another interesting fact this year, Kevin Kline wins Best Supporting Actor for A Fish Called Wanda, which totally squashes the comedies don't win Oscars argument. What's your next one, sir?
1989, Driving Miss Daisy, directed by Bruce Beresford and starring Morgan Freeman and Jessica Tandy, is released. Best Picture, 1990.
This one, I feel, is the biggest robbery of all the things on this list. Driving Miss Daisy won Best Picture in 1990, beating out Dead Poet Society, My Left Foot, Born on the 4th of July, and Field of Dreams. Seriously?
This was the only chance Jessica Tandy was going to have to get an Oscar.
Well, she won for best actress and beat out Michelle Pfeiffer, who was in the Fabulous Baker Boys that year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it was like a career one for her.
Mm-hmm.
Should have been Pfeiffer, but the Best Picture one's a real robbery. Like, come on, man, fucking Dead Poets, Field of Dreams. Like, Field of Dreams probably should have won that year.
The kicker was Jessica Tandy really wanted it for Batteries Not Included. And, that got completely snubbed.
Her husband Don Amici had already won for Cocoon, I believe. So,
Poor
what's
still looking at diabetes?
What's the next one you got there, Mike?
1991, Hook, a swashbuckling film sequel to the Peter Pan story, directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman, premieres.
Hook is a movie that I didn't like when I first watched it, but kind of grew on me a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit.
Did you
It's not
not
great.
like it because you were comparing it to the Disney Peter Pan that you were familiar with, and there were too many things that didn't quite line up?
Yeah, I think it was more like Peter Pan's not supposed to grow up.
Right, but this
And
is the whole. I mean, the basis of the movie was what if he did? You know.
I know. That's what I mean. Like, it kind of grew on me after a while. 'Cause I love Robin Williams so much, I can't not hate his performance.
Yeah.
Come on. And Dustin
Yeah.
Hoffman chewed up scenery. It was great. Now.
Oh, he's great in it. Dustin Hoffman's awesome as Hook.
Yeah.
I like what's his name is Shmee as well.
Oh, Bob Hoskins.
Bob Hoskins was awesome in it.
Bob Hoskins
And
don't forget Meryl Streep.
Yeah,
Meryl Streep, Maggie Smith. Man, this. I mean, you talk about a loaded cast, and these were mostly cameos too. You know, still had a decent cast. But...
the scene where they fly over the bridge and the kissing couple starts floating up in the air. That's Carrie Fisher and George Lucas as the kissing couple. Yeah, you have Glenn Close in an uncredited cameo as the pirate that gets thrown in the box with the scorpions.
Yep. David Crosby from Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Stills and Nash.
Yeah.
And the older I got, the less upset I got about Rubio's death because he kind of sucked.
Yeah, it was a bit of a jerk.
Rubio. What's your next one here, Mike?
In 2001, the movie that probably should have won Best Picture, The Fellowship of the Rings, Lord of the Rings film, directed by Peter Jackson and starring Elijah Wood and Ian McKellen, premieres in London.
So you should read your follow-up fact because this is the film that beat it for Best Picture.
I know. In 2001, A Beautiful Mind, based on the bio of Sylvia Nasser, directed by Ron Howard and starring Russell Crowe, premieres in Los Angeles. Best Picture, 2002. Nah.
Now, Beautiful Mind's a good movie. Ron Howard won Best Director for that. It shouldn't have been Fellowship of the Rings. Fellowship of the Ring, no. Like, that should have won. But I feel like the fact that they gave Best Picture to Return of the King years later.
Yeah, they waited till all three movies came out and gave it to the last one as a consolation prize.
I don't know if it was a consolation prize. I think it was more like, it's an overall achievement, so we'll give it to the final film, you know.
And do you think that at this point they're now, I mean, by Return of the King, they were accepting of CGI as a way of, being used in movies and
no, because he still didn't get Best Supporting Actor.
Well, the CGI thing, if it's done correctly,
right? I mean, if you're looking at the two, Beautiful Mind and the Fellowship of the Ring, both are great movies, but CGI was heavily used in the Fellowship of the Ring, and they could have looked at that as, I don't know, a crutch in terms of like artistic. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'd have to look at the previous award winners before 2001 to see if any of them had as much CGI or blossoming CGI, because it seems like they held off on giving any movie that had, a good amount of CGI that was not a contender for a while.
I think it was another thing, like the Oscars always overthinks it and has to give it to that like artsy film, like A Beautiful Mind. Whereas when the Return of the King won, it was hard to deny that it was the best picture of the year because it was also such a monster at the box office. Right. And I don't think there was too much other competition that year either. So.
No, I think when Return of the King came out, it was competing against Big Daddy and
yeah, those Adam Sandler or Oscar giants.
Paul Blart.
So, Mike, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Okay. You know who also got snubbed was Mencken.
For
Smeagol.
For Spiegel. Oh,
Smeagol.
Yeah.
That was Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis. Yeah. Like there was the thing like
he should have won supporting actor.
Yeah, he should supporting actor. I think he should have been nominated,
Because he
and I
acted
think
the whole time. He just
They weren't
Yeah.
giving it to anybody who was using live capture or motion
No.
capture or any of that.
I think he was robbed, and I think Sean Astin was robbed for Best Supporting Actor for Return of the King as well. For his role as Samwise. Like I think he deserved a nomination as well.
yes.
What's your next one there, Mike?
In 2016,
Still lagging
Rogue
in.
One, the first of the Star Wars analog films, directed by. I mean, there's not much left, though. We can
Yeah.
keep the rest for later. You have your fact. Go ahead with yours.
You want to do the Marvel Spider-Man one?
Nah, we can. It can
All right.
wait.
I was just going to say the Spider-Man No Way Home. If you want to know more about what we have to say about that film, check out episode 43 from January 10th, 2022. Or as I like to call it, the COVID episode, because 2 of the 3 of us ended up with COVID after going to see that movie.
Yes.
So the last fact we have tonight is a fun fact about the new Sony release Kraven the Hunter, which just premiered this week. After a critics screening a couple nights ago in New York and LA, the Rotten Tomatoes score for Kraven the Hunter is a 9% critic score, meaning it is certified rotten, and that is a lower Rotten Tomatoes score than Madam Web.
Wow.
One critic in his review wrote, "This is the comedy of the holiday season," which is sad because it's not supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah.
So I may wait for Kraven the Hunter to come out on streaming before I see that one. Wow. Mike, you have any must-try beer crafts for us tonight?
I have a must-try beer.
Okay.
Where is it? There it is. Fluffy gingerbread molasses marshmallow porter.
That sounds like a Kevin beer.
Odyssey Beer Works, Arvada, Colorado. Let's see a 6% ABV porter with gingerbread molasses and marshmallows. Why not? It's dark brown with garnet tint, and though that vanillion, whoa, from the marshmallow really sweetens the aromatics. There is some latte notes hiding backstage. Medium body, but thankfully not as sweet on the palate as the aromatics promise. The gingerbread is there, but offers no ginger heat, and the molasses lends a brown sugar note. The dark malts involved add a s'mores-like chocolate flavor, but again, it's not overly sweet, so things remain drinkable. There you go.
Save that fact for Kevin. He wants to try it out.
It's like me, medium bodied, gentlemen, medium bodied.
I'm full-bodied.
I'm like 3 medium bodies right here.
So that brings us to Beer News is Kevin News.
Beer news is Kevin news. Do.
You want me to hire David Lee Roth to write you a theme for that too?
Get closer to the world, my friends. Take a little bit of time. Move closer to the world, my friends, and you'll see. Okay, everybody. We're going to start off with something fun. The Fountain of Youth, Ponce de Leon. It has been found, and the Berks woman Berks woman in I don't even know which county. Berks WFMZ. Where are they out of? Anyway, let's just move on, shall we? She's found the Fountain of Youth, and she says it's in Yingling beer. Berks woman turns 110 credits longevity to Yingling Lager. A Berks County native is celebrating a huge milestone this week. Margaret DeLulo is turning 110 years old on Friday. Happy birthday, Maggie, you old minx. She celebrated Thursday with friends at the Country Meadows Retirement Home in Wyomissing. This must be Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, if it's you.
Yeah. She says she plans on spending her time with her family on her birthday. She was born at Reading Hospital in 1940. Yeah, it's definitely Pennsylvania. I don't know why. Okay. Reading Hospital in 1914, and her family says she's still going strong. What is her secret, you ask? What is her secret? There you go. Thank you. She credits her longevity to God, good genes, Genes, not Jeans, and Yingling beer. So there you go, gentlemen. Go out this holiday season, get yourself a case of Yingling, and live long enough to, see your
Live
feet
long
die.
and prosper.
That's right. In other news, something every man should have on his holiday list. It's the Natural Lights, the Neighborator. And it's the best way of making friends with your neighbor, because who doesn't need a double-sided beer fridge?
Let me show this to Mike because I know he's having trouble seeing the file. Here is the Neighborator.
As the saying goes, good fences make good neighbors, but sometimes your neighbors are just so damn cool that you want easier access to hanging with your buddy next door. Thankfully, guys, I can't say it any other way than Natty. I'm sorry. It's just
it's Natty Ice.
It's Natty Light is here to make that happen. On Tuesday, Natty Light gave Food and Wine their exclusive first look at the Neighborator. It's brand new, double-sided beer fridge designed to be installed in the fence line that separates you from your favorite neighbor. According to the team, it was inspired to create a rather friendly invention after learning that more than 60% of Americans wish that they had a closer relationship with their folks next door. Natty Light has always been a community beer that brings people together, so when we discovered that the majority of neighbors wish they were better friends with the folks who live next door, we dreamed up the natural way to forge a connection. Kristen Stowe, the head of marketing for Bush Family and Natural Family for Anheuser-Busch, shared in a statement. Whether you want to thank Sue for grabbing your mail while you were away, make peace with Joe over an overgrown hedge, or finally introduce yourself to the mysterious neighbor who fetches the newspaper in their pajamas, the Neighborator will help you turn that fence line from yours and mine into ours over an ice-cold natty. The Neighborator features all-weather protection and a dual-sided lock and key mechanism so both sides can access the fridge and the goods can stay secure. So whether your neighbor is your go-to buddy or the one you duck behind the bushes to avoid, Natty's invention will help strengthen your bond through the shared love of beer, it added. Or, if this is your home improvement situation, you've never actually seen your neighbor Wilson's entire face, at least now, you can easily share a beer. That is a dated reference, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes,
if you are
home
listening and
improvement
you remember
reference in
home improvement,
2024.
that's right. However, there is a catch. You can't buy the Neighborator. You have to win it as it is one of a kind.
Oh, they're
You can
teases.
enter. I know, man. This is the second thing that I think Bush came out with. Was it Bush? Was Miller
Were
part
they
of
the
it?
ones that did the chimney
the
thing?
chimney,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. You can enter to win it from now through December 20th by following Natural Light on Facebook, Instagram, or X and commenting on the contest post telling the brand why you and your neighbor deserve the Neighborator. Well, that excludes me. That's not going to happen. The prize also includes a year of beer provided through a $550 prepaid card, which it goes to show you how long $550 will last on Natty Ice, which may be used to purchase 224 packs of Natty Light a month for 12 months. And of course, you need to be 21 to enter. And if you do win, just make sure that you take time to pick which neighboring fence deserves to share the magical experiencing with you most. I think I only have one neighbor that this might work with, and I don't even know if they drink beer. You know, but anyway, I
I
mean,
said to me, it looks like when you get the little library on your like your curb or whatever, it's the beer library.
yes, we have a few of them in my neighborhood. Um, in the interest of time, gentlemen, the year in beer from the Brewers Association for 2024. They came up with some information just about 2024. I'm just going to skim quickly over some of the things that they had seen over the past year, which are significant. Craft saw a slightly more significant estimated decline in production. So, craft beers declined 2% in production compared to 2023, but there was no significant year over year variations in sales volume. So, there you go. I'm going to skip down a little bit. This suggests a full year number. Oh, sorry.
So
All
something
right.
I was looking at in this was the count.
Mm-hmm.
Craft beer by number. It said the number of small independent breweries in operation in 2024 in the U.S. totals 9,736. While you were finishing up your previous article, I was looking some information up. So I looked up
Mm-hmm.
craft breweries in the U.S. in 2000. In the year 2000, there was less than 2,000 craft breweries around the country. Now there is almost 10,000 craft breweries around the country. That's like an 80% increase.
Right. And that's phenomenal. I mean, especially for us who like craft beer. But the next fact I'm going to give you kind of shows a little bit of the decline. Um, the Beer Association tracked that 335 new breweries opened, but 399 had closed. Um, it's still kind of low, but it still outweighs the number of new openings. Supported over 460,000 jobs, and the economy from craft beer is contributes about $77.1 billion to the country's economy. The hottest trends: non-alcohol beer boom. We talked about that a little bit with Tom Holland's
Mm-hmm.
development of beer a few weeks ago. Non-alcoholic beer is strong. Um, After years of unfettered innovation ruling in the industry, brewers are focusing more on building off of products and models which they found success. So they're going to go back to the ones where, people really like. They're not going to experiment nearly as much. And breweries are finding new way to emphasize the customer's experience, from offering diverse dining options, cocktails, mindful drinking options, and family-friendly activities. Um, and just a couple events that took place in 2024. We had the Great American Beer Festival that happened in October, with more than 40,000 attendees, 2,500 beers from over 500 breweries. The World Beer Cup, which happened,
The Olympics
sorry,
of beer.
the Olympics of beer. 37 countries vying for global recognition.
I
And
wonder if
then there
it's like
was
the movie Beer Fest where they just compete in all different beer drinking games and
you have the snooty people who swirl the beer around so that you can smell it. And then Beer Week in May, American Craft Beer Week, strengthening the bond. And you know what? That's where I'm going to cut it, because
yeah.
we're
And if
pushing time.
anybody's interested, like we did an episode in May of 2023, or I'm sorry, no, May of this year, May of 2024,
Mhm.
where we did a episode just on beer, in honor of Beer Week. So
Mhm.
you can go back and check out one of our earlier episodes if you want to know more. So that was beer news is good news. I'm going to skip the ad read so we can go right into the main segment, unless anybody needs a break, or are we good to go? I can't hear you, Mike. No sound, bud. Check your mute button because I can't hear anything you're saying.
His picture's crystal clear too.
I know. Thank you for staying with us after that short ad break. We are on our main segment tonight, which is we're looking at the 40th anniversary of the horror comedy Christmas film. I guess it's a Christmas film. Gremlins. Bum, ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba.
Steven Spielberg presents Gremlins. Billy Pelser has a nice home.
Billy, is that you?
Yeah, Mom, it's me.
A nice job. A nice girl.
If you're not doing anything this Thursday night, maybe you'd like to go out on a date with me?
I'd love to.
And loving parents who are about to give him
You're gonna like this. No, don't shake it. We're gonna have to open it now. It won't wait till Christmas.
the most unusual gift he ever got.
What is it?
No.
It's your new pet.
Come on, Barney, be a good dog. My dad gave it to me.
But there are a few things to keep in mind. If you expose it to the light, you may hurt it. If you get it wet, it will multiply.
All that from water? They got wet?
Yeah, plain water.
And most important, no matter how much they beg, never let them eat after midnight. Because when they do, they change. They become clever, mischievous,
What's going on here?
and dangerous.
Gremlins, eh? Little monsters.
Right.
Hundreds of them.
Well, I don't know, maybe thousands.
I've been here too. Billy, what are these things? Where do they come from?
Look, I know it sounds crazy, I know. But in a few hours, you're gonna have a major disaster on your hands.
Gremlins, directed by Joe Dante. They'll be expecting you on Juneteenth.
So that was the trailer for Gremlins. The IMDb synopsis goes like this. A young man inadvertently breaks 3 important rules concerning his new pet and unleashes a horde of malevolently mischievous monsters on a small town. Not one of the worst IMDb synopses, but not one of the best ones either. So here's a better synopsis for you. It's my synopsis. Feel free to comment, guys, as you would like. Add your own, takes on here, or let me know if I'm just wrong about my own take. But here we go. This is what the film Gremlins is all about. Oh, sure. Every dad's first choice for a Christmas present is a weird creature from a shady back alley shop in Chinatown. At least the portrayal of the Chinese people in this film is culturally sensitive. Meet Gizmo, the adorable Mogwai. He's basically a Furby prototype with an extensive list of warranty-voiding conditions. Rule number 1, don't expose it to bright light, because what's more practical than a pet that's allergic to the sun? Rule number 2, don't get it wet, which isn't a red flag for owning a living creature at all. And rule number 3, never feed it after midnight, because time zones and digestive cycles are very straightforward.
I'm about to say, what time zone of midnight? Because this is kind of native to America. So
yeah, and when does the time reset? Because it's technically like always after midnight.
somewhere.
They actually make a joke about that in Gremlins too. Like there is like a little like meta joke about that. Obviously, every single one of these rules is ignored within 24 hours because humans are the worst. Next, we meet some of the townsfolk who will become cannon fodder for the Gremlins later.
I think
A sudden Corey Feldman is a tree. What's that?
You did miss one thing. You forgot about his dad, the inventor.
Oh no, it's in here. I have it in here.
Oh, okay.
It comes out a little bit later.
Oh,
His
okay.
dad, who is not only an inventor but one of the most lackluster, lackadaisical performers I've ever seen in a film.
Hey,
He looked
that
like
smokeless ashtray.
but the actor seemed like he could care less about every line he had to read.
Pretty much.
Sudden Corey Feldman shows up as a tree. And then we meet Billy, played by Zach Galligan. He works at a bank in a small town, but wishes to someday publish a comic strip and also find some charisma. He is a wet blanket. Sudden Judge Reinhold as one of the most useless characters in any film, anytime, anywhere.
Well,
It's
that's
here we
normal.
meet. Yeah, it's here we meet Billy's girlfriend, played by the always adorable Phoebe Cates, and the town curmudgeon. Yeah, and the town curmudgeon, Mrs. Deagle, possibly the only thing scarier than the Gremlins. In this scene, she wants to murder Billy's dog because he broke her expensive snowman. It is a pretty straightforward threat. Like she's gonna kill this dog.
I'm gonna get you and your little dog too.
Kind of like what I was feeling that as the scene was progressing. So, cut to the next scene. Billy helps his mom in the kitchen, and this is possibly the closest I will ever come to watching It's a Wonderful Life myself. Billy's dad, Randy, a failed inventor who somehow can afford a house, gifts Billy with the Mugwai that he bought under mysterious pretenses. They name him Gizmo. Accidentally add water. Yeah, what's that, Mike?
Did he buy him or did he steal him?
Well, he bought him because he gives the kid $200, but the kid sells it even though the grandfather doesn't want him to.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Accidentally add water. Surprise! Now there's more Mogwai. Clearly the gift that keeps on giving. The new Mogwai are slightly less adorable and about as well behaved as a kindergartner on a sugar high. They trick the clueless owner into feeding them after midnight. Shocking. Billy takes the eggs that hatch later to the local high school biology teacher for studying, instead of a real scientist or the fucking military or something. So here they transform into the Gremlins, tiny murderous reptiles with an addiction to chaos. Naturally, their first stop is the kitchen. Let's trash the place and turn Mrs. Peltzer into an action hero. Billy's mom, Mrs. Peltzer, uses a blender and a microwave to fight them off because the movie is basically a how-to for kitchen-based self-defense. Cut to what is possibly my favorite scene in the film. It's the Gremlins systematically whacking all the townsfolk in very fun, inventive ways. The people in this town sucked, so I was happy to see a lot of it. And the best kill in the scene has to be Mrs. Deagle's power chair.
Oh, yeah.
She gets thrown out of her building. Meanwhile, the main Gremlin gang heads to the local pub. Yes, they drink. Yes, they smoke. Yes, this is happening. But don't worry. Go ahead.
Isn't this where we're gonna get the female gremlin?
No, the female gremlin's in part 2.
Oh, that's right.
In this one, you get a gremlin who keeps flashing Phoebe Cates. But don't worry, Kate the bartender, played by Phoebe Cates, serves them like it's just a regular Tuesday shift. Billy, our utterly forgettable protagonist, shows up to save the day. Too bad he has the charisma of a wet sponge. Wait, I think I said that already.
Blanket.
In the very next scene, we get possibly the most memorable scene in the film. It's Kate's heartwarming story about why she hates Christmas. Spoiler, it involves a dead dad stuck in a chimney with a broken neck. Possibly the most frightening part of this film. We can read the quote later, too, if you like, Kevin. It's up to you. The Gremlins take over the movie theater because even monsters need their cinematic fix. Gizmo. Yeah, this is the hi-ho, Snow White scene. I kept waiting for Hulk Hogan to show up and yell at the Gremlins for making noise in the theater, but then I remembered that's also part 2. I think I've seen part 2 more than part 1.
I have not. I saw part 1 more than I saw part 2.
I actually like part 2 a little bit. It's funny. Gizmo gets a moment to shine here while driving a Barbie car, despite a lack of batteries, motor, or anything else that would make this possible.
It's in the script.
Yeah, someone finally remembers rule number 1. Let's hit them with sunlight. Who knew the solution could be so bright? This is where they blow up the movie theater, killing basically all of the Gremlins except for the main one, Stripe. Stripe, the head gremlin, decides he's not done yet. Cue to a department store showdown, because why not? Gizmo saves the day again, proving he's the real hero of this movie. Billy should just go to fuck home.
Billy got shot with a crossbow bolt, didn't he?
Yeah, he gets shot with a crossbow in this scene. Stripe melts into a gooey puddle of nightmare fuel after being exposed to sunlight. Of course, this is a fitting end to what should be supposed to be a children's Christmas movie. But then again, we've talked about children's movies in the 80s before, and trauma is basically...
It sold a lot of merchandise.
Yeah, it's yeah. The creepy old shop owner returns to reclaim Gizmo, scolding everyone for their stupidity, and I can't argue with him. The moral of the story, folks: don't buy mysterious pets from unlicensed vendors in opium dens. And that, folks, is Gremlins.
So how do they lead up to the second movie? I mean, if they're all destroyed.
Yeah, go ahead, Billy. Billy gets a job at some lab or something,
and he gets Gizmo back somehow.
Well, he gets Gizmo back somehow. He ends up at this lab. Gizmo's in his backpack or whatever. The scientists discover Gizmo. He gets hit with water. He procreates. They eat shit and become gremlins again. The thing that I love about part 2 though is they decide to have fun with the gremlins because they're in a lab. So they all start injecting themselves with different chemicals, and then next thing you know, you have a bat gremlin and a gremlin who's made out of electricity, and then you have the female gremlin who looks like Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas.
Exactly.
I actually do enjoy part 2. So that takes us to the vitals on the film here. The cast and crew. This was produced by Steven Spielberg. You can tell because at the very beginning of the film, it says Steven Spielberg presents Gremlins. And then it takes about 4 minutes of credits before you finally see Joe Dante's name as director. It was written by Chris Columbus. Directed, as I said, by Joe Dante. Joe Dante has also directed some other great films like The Howling, Inner Space, Gremlins Part 2, and what was the other one he did that's one of my favorites? I gotta find it here. He's done a lot of really weird trash movies like this. Gremlins. Oh, The Burbs. He directed The Burbs as well. It also stars Zach Galligan. Ask me what else he's been in, and I'll tell you Gremlins and Gremlins 2. I couldn't tell you anything else that this guy's done. Phoebe Cates, who was in this film, she was in Drop Dead Fred, and her boobs were in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Exactly.
Corey Feldman, who has a small role as some weird kid that's friends with Billy for some reason. And Judge Reinhold plays an asshole at the bank who's constantly chiding Billy for not, making money. Now, here's the fun thing about this film. The budget was $11 million. Worldwide gross for this movie was $153,908,485.
That's a good return.
So it needed a sequel.
Yeah, no wonder they made a sequel. I think they made a profit too.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So just for reference, this is the domestic box office for 1984. The number one film of the year, at a little over $234 million, was Beverly Hills Cop, followed by Ghostbusters at $229 million. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was 179 plus, and then Gremlins fell in at 4th for the year at 148 million plus. They were the only 4 films to gross over $100 million. Number 5 was The Karate Kid, which was at 90 million. Followed by Police Academy, Footloose, Romancing the Stone, Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, and number 10 in 1984, one of my favorite films, Splash.
Yeah, back when you watched every movie that came out because it was good.
Yeah, I mean, every one of those movies, I have seen every one of those movies multiple times. Yes. And I love every single one, minus maybe Footloose. I don't think I've watched that one as much as the others, but this is an amazing top 10 list right there. And again, go ahead, Mike.
I mean, back when Gremlins came out, it was great. I don't think it's aged well.
No, I had trouble watching this again recently. This was a hard rewatch. But then, like, looking at this, like, if anybody else wants to know some more of what we think about the films in 1984, we did a This Year in Film History 1984 episode way back when too. So
Yeah,
this is something we've talked about before. Now, I gave you a link to the quotes. I don't know if I really want to go through the quotes because
there's not a lot of quotes except for
not a lot of good
Bye,
quotes,
Billy.
except for "Bye, Billy" from Gizmo at the end, or the Gremlins every now and then will say something, kind of like under their breath. The best quote in the film, though, the only one really worth mentioning, is the Phoebe Cates monologue about her dad in the chimney. Now, Kev, did you want to read that? Did you want to share that with us?
Sure will.
It's the first one on the list. Look at that.
All right. Sorry, ads popping up. Here we go.
Yeah.
So Kate says, "Now I have another reason to hate Christmas." Billy says, "What are you talking about?" "The worst thing that ever happened to me was on Christmas." "Oh, God, it was horrible. It was Christmas Eve. I was 9 years old. Me and Mom were decorating the tree, waiting for Dad to come home from work. A couple hours went by. Dad wasn't home. So Mom called the office. No answer. Christmas Day came and went, and still nothing. So the police began a search. 4 or 5 days went by. Neither one of us could eat or sleep. Everything was falling apart. It was snowing outside. The house was freezing, so I went to try to light up the fire. That's when I noticed the smell. The firemen came and broke through the chimney top, and me and Mom were expecting them to pull out a dead cat or a bird. And instead, they pulled out my father. He was dressed in a Santa Claus suit. He'd been climbing down the chimney, his arms loaded with presents. He was going to surprise us. He slipped and broke his neck. He died instantly. And that's how I found out that there was no Santa Claus.
Heartwarming.
Aside from the horror that is that story,
Yeah.
you have to know that there were a lot of kids that probably went to see this in the theater, and every one of them found out about Santa Claus that year. He died in Phoebe Cates' chimney. Now, there is actually, so I'm going to go to the trivia portion of this because there's actually a trivia thing about that. The Santa speech proved to be controversial.
Yes,
and the studio execs insisted upon its removal because they felt that it was too ambiguous as to whether it was supposed to be funny or sad. They weren't sure if that speech was supposed to be funny.
That wasn't funny.
Yeah, director Joe Dante. How I like to say that Kevin did a better job reading that than Phoebe Cates as well. Good job.
Well, she wasn't known for her acting, really.
Yeah, she was known for this. Director Joe Dante, however, stubbornly refused to take the scene out, saying it represented the movie as a whole, which had a combination of horrific and comedic elements. I'm sorry. Executive producer Steven Spielberg did not like the scene, but despite his creative control, he viewed this as Dante's project and allowed him to leave it in. Plus, Steven Spielberg presents Gremlins. In Cantonese, Mugwai means devil, demon, or gremlin. The Mandarin pronunciation is Magui.
Magui.
So this is also the same set that was used for Back to the Future. This is a studio backlot on Universal Studio. Originally, Gizmo and Stripe were the same character. This changed when Steven Spielberg insisted that one of the Gremlins needs to be a good guy with whom the audience could identify. Joe Dante expresses that this decision was the reason that the film is fondly remembered and that they made all that money in merchandise. What are you going to say? You have something to say there, Kev?
Oh, I just like the trivia that came up after the Cantonese or the word Mogwai about the
go for it.
monkeys. An early attempt to have monkeys play the Gremlins was abandoned because the test monkeys panicked.
Why?
Yes. If anybody's wondering what's happening with the test monkeys that escaped down south, those 7 that are still there, they're working on Gremlins 3 right now.
So Mike had said an earlier attempt to have the monkeys play the Gremlins was abandoned because the test monkey panicked when made to wear a gremlin head. You can't do that to Peter Tork, Davy Jones, Mickey Dolenz,
No.
and the other guy, Pete Nesmith. You can't do that to them. Oh, Mike, you remember a couple weeks ago you did a This Week in Film History fact about a Monkeys movie?
Yes.
It was like real weird. I watched it.
And
it was just as weird as I thought it was going to be. Anyway, I'm going to skip down to the spoiler facts that are at the very end here. The scene in the department store where Stripe attacks Billy with a chainsaw was not in the script. It was added by Joe Dante and Zach Galligan as an homage to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Because that's what you want in a children's Christmas. Yeah. At the end, Gizmo pulls a window blind that exposes Stripe to the sunlight. Originally, however, there were 2 window blinds, and Gizmo pulls the first one, then Billy pulls the second one. The scene was edited because Spielberg believed that Gizmo was the hero of the movie and not Billy. Thank God, because he really isn't the hero of this movie. Therefore, Gizmo would be the only one responsible for destroying Stripe. The theater that blows up with the Gremlins inside was involved in another accident when Marty McFly, played by Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future, smashes into the front entrance. The theater then burned down with the rest of the buildings in the fire that happened right after the filming of Back to the Future Part 2. Oh my God. The original script contained a scene where the Gremlins attacked the McDonald's and ate the customers instead of the burgers.
Oh. And a happy
I'm
new
loving it.
year.
The new Gremlin milkshake at McDonald's. Mr. Hansen, the science teacher, originally died with dozens of hypodermic needles stuck in his face. However, by request from producer Steven Spielberg, this scene was reshot with just a single needle in his ass. So this is weird.
After Lynn Peltzer stabbed the gremlin to death in the kitchen, there was an unused effect of the gremlin trying to pull the knife free from its body. This effect was considered too distressing, and the shot was omitted. However, you can see the effect over her shoulder as she microwaves another gremlin. Doesn't she also put one in a blender?
Oh, yeah.
And the gremlin trying to get the knife out of it was distressing?
Yeah, the blender and the gremlin blowing up in the microwave weren't as distressing as the one trying to pull the knife out. Now, I know what it's talking about here because I noticed it when I did the rewatch the other day. Behind her, as she's doing the microwave, you can see the gremlin on the countertop, like kind of like shaking and moving, like it's trying to fight the fact that it's dying. It's a little weird, but it's like, yeah, like that's too much. That's going too far.
I draw the line here.
Now, quick, pull the gremlin's eyeballs out with a spoon.
Yeah. Why a spoon, cousin, not a knife or an axe?
Because it's blunt, it'll hurt more.
So in the original draft of the script, Stripe being a Mogwai who becomes a gremlin, there was actually no Stripe. Gizmo was the Mogwai, and he turns into Stripe the gremlin. Spielberg overruled this element because he felt Gizmo was cute and audiences would want him to be present at all stages of the film. This became stressful for Chris Wallace, who had designed a Gizmo puppet only for the actions that happened in the first half of the movie. This explains why Gizmo doesn't do much of anything in the second half of the movie, but give reaction shots, until the very ending when he kills Stripe. In all likelihood, that is why Gizmo spends much of the final store sequence driving around in a toy car. It was simply a way to keep the Gizmo character mobile without needing his limbs to move, very much while looking adorable and heroic at the same time. Well, that answers that.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, and then the rest of this is you know. Mm-hmm. So there's one deleted scene that I would like to have seen. It's the Gerald character played by Judge Reinhold hiding out in the bank vault while the gremlins run wild, and he loses his sanity. because I don't think you really see what happens to him.
Nobody ever wants to see what happens to Judge Reinhold.
Yeah, like you don't really play with him. The novelization explains that Mr. Wing's grandson was severely punished by his grandfather for back alley sale of Gizmo. Oh, I'd like to read that. I want to know what the severe punishment was.
Bundy sticks up his toenails.
Yeah.
Ew.
Human body count 4 confirmed. There's a lot more that are unconfirmed.
The whole town was freaking destroyed.
Yeah, I know. There are people running around on fire and shit. It looked like the scene in RoboCop where they do like the riot in the city. Here you go, Kev. The gremlin exploding in a microwave had to be reshot because the first one was deemed too gory. I want to know. I want to see the gory cut. Oh God. Yes, I think that's pretty good. We'll move on from there. So here are your taglines for the film: cute, clever, mischievous, intelligent, dangerous.
Okay.
That sounds like they could have been a tagline for Miss Congeniality as well.
It's Darkwing Duck. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, right. You can't get burned seeing Gremlins.
But
bump. Here, I love this. Is the best tagline of them all. Steven Spielberg presents.
That's all you needed.
Yeah, cute, clever, mischievous, intelligent, dangerous, and then the words "We're here" is crossed out on the board. What you see ... isn't always what you get. You know how many movies that could be a tagline for? That could be like a tagline for any movie where the ugly girl takes her ponytail and her glasses off and becomes beautiful.
She's all that.
It could be a tagline for They Live.
Yeah, right. Exactly. The Gremlins are coming.
The Gremlins are coming. The Gremlins are coming. 2 of my light. 3 of my.
Gremlins are coming. Get them a tissue.
Ooh.
Don't get him wet. Keep him out of the bright light and never feed him after midnight. That's actually like the closest to what the movie's about. And then the last tagline: they didn't obey the rules.
That's true too.
Neither did the Goonies, or So, to end this, one Oscar. Who gets it?
The father.
No. The Chinese guy.
The old Chinese guy, the guy from the opium den. I give it to Phoebe Cates for Best Supporting Actress, and her Oscar clip is that speech. Mike, you have any beer trivia history for us tonight?
I have some beer. History. Russia's oldest brewery, Stepan Razin, began brewing beer in 1795. It is located in the city of St. Petersburg and also houses a beer-related history museum.
All right. We have a cinema quote of the week.
Oh, that's me. Yes. Hi. Okay.
I thought he was trying
to figure out how to do the voice.
I thought he was pretending to freeze on me again.
Oh man, I wish I could do Kevin. No, okay.
Hollywood has a way.
Hollywood has a way of making everything seem like an overnight success.
That's right.
Kevin Hart.
It does make a lot of people seem like, oh, look at this person. Also, yeah, but like somebody like him and other like comedians took a long time before they made the success that they had. How are your drinks this evening, gentlemen?
Strong.
Strong.
Oh, this thing.
I know your drink was so strong it kept knocking out your Wi-Fi.
I recommend the Cocoa Pebbles, but I'm not quite so sure of the Juicy Pebbles. It's okay. It's just a little too hazy for me.
Yeah, I'm not big on those like creamy hazy ones. So, but I would try the chocolate one. That one sounds good.
Yeah.
So last time I had the Jersey Devil port on this show, I drank a whole bottle and had a lot of trouble the next day. Tonight, I only drank a little more than half the bottle, so hopefully I'll have a better morning this time around than I did the last time. But it is a very, very good wine from Volazzano Winery in New Jersey. So, thank you everybody for joining us tonight for episode 176, The Gremlins at 40 years old. We hope you enjoyed listening to the podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Again, don't forget, you can shoot us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media podcast links, or go to filmsandfermentation.com, or I'm sorry, patreon.com/filmsandfermentation, support us, or buy our merchandise at teespring.com, or dial 904-867-4466 to leave us a direct text message. I can't wait for next week's episode. I am so jazzed for the next episode we are doing. Please, everyone, make sure you stop by the crossroads between Pickled and Fermented for episode 177, where I force Kevin and Michael to watch the Star Wars holiday special so that we can review it on the show. Our very special Christmas episode this year, the Star Wars holiday special at 47 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Can't
You're not
wait.
talking about the Lego one they have on Disney
No, not
Plus?
the Lego one. I'm talking about the batshit crazy LSD laden one from 1978.
Shit. I thought we were
Dude,
getting.
I can't
I thought
wait. Oh, Kev. You know the scene in Skeleton Crew where the little kids are watching the holographic thing?
Mhm.
That is from the holiday special, my friend.
I saw that little footnote when I was looking up trivia on Skeleton Crew.
I just can't wait for you guys to watch the cameo sequence from disco superstar Diana Carroll.
I'm looking forward to B. Arthur.
Oh, B. Arthur's in it. Art Carney's in it. Harvey Korman is in it. Everybody you think of when you think Star Wars. Mark Hamill looking like, I don't know what. Harrison Ford looking like, let's just get this fucking over with. It's wonderfully bad. And I sent you guys the link. It's on YouTube. You can watch it for free. I can't wait for this episode. Episode 177, the Star Wars Holiday Special. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
This has been the Films and Fermentation podcast. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.